and placed him in a teacher position.
We're good.
Okay, I'll explain it when we get there. We're live?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Juanita.
Meeting called to order at 6:11 by Juanita Segovia, Vice President. Quorum established by 4 of 5 members. We are present in person. We have 3 of us and 1 on the phone call, Ms. Miles. If you guys want to help me stand up for the bridge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Welcome, members and public. We'll go ahead and move to item 2, general session. Item 3, consent agenda. Consider to adopt meeting agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the meeting agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Adopted meeting agenda. Considering to approve meetings of previous meetings, regular meeting held May 12th of 2025. Do you have to make a motion? Do we have a motion on to approve the agenda?
Yep, I move to approve the minutes of previous meetings, regular meeting held on May 12th.
Do we have a second? Miles, a second. Okay. We'll go ahead and move to item 4, reports, construction report.
Okay, so, on construction report, Jeannie, Christina, and myself will be attending the PSCOC, this Thursday at 9. We should have more information after that. I did attend a Zoom on Friday, a subcommittee meeting for the PSCOC. In that regard, they provided us kind of with what will probably happen on that day in approval, and it is not looking like we will be approved for all the extra square footage that we're asking for. We will be approved only for about 4,000 square foot out of the 12,000 that we were asking for is their current information to us. They did that kind of out of a courtesy to give us a heads up as we go in there for information purposes. So it is looking like, as of Thursday, we will get some extra square footage. It just won't be as much as what we were hoping. As of right now, the PSCOC is really struggling with giving any extra square footage for gym space in general. That includes like extra bleacher space, having 2 gyms. All of that information is part of, they have new committee members, and so that's something that they are not looking as favorably upon as previous. So we are prepared to not receive our full allotted of ask on Thursday, but we will keep you guys posted once we know exactly what they let us know on Thursday. So, any thoughts?
So, the additional square footage that they're not allotting, you think is gonna be like the gym space versus like classroom space or?
It is. It was mostly
library?
it was mostly extra gym space, and they had it broken down for us a little bit, and it was all mostly, not that there isn't still gym space, because there is like a baseline of what they can give. It's just not all the extra piece of that. So when we look at that information, it's like having a full-size high school-size gym. They're not going to provide that. It's going to be definitely more of the middle school with not the boundary around the outside, not as many bleachers in the middle, but it was definitely directed towards gym square footage that they talked about. So not that we can't have it, it's just not going to be what we had hoped we were going to get.
And are we going two separate schools, or are we doing the?
So currently with that, we're just still working on the allotment, the square footage allotment. Once that, then we will be able to plan, design of any kind. So we haven't made any design decisions. It's just preliminary, like, we want this gym, we don't. And so once we get past this phase and they say, yes, you have 82,000 square foot, here's what it could look like.
So then we're kind of back to square one, because I know
Yes.
in the initial something, a book or something that we saw, there was like plans for a combined building, there was like plans for two separate buildings. So those are really non-existent anymore. We're kind of like starting from scratch.
So I think that those probably are still both like viable options. It's more about the fact of now we know, so currently we have 78,000 square foot from our previous PSFA award letter. And so we could have taken that and just gone and said, okay, this is how we're going to build. But then as we went through this process, they provided us with information, hey, there's going to be a new calculator out. Maybe you should try to get some extra square footage out of this. And I'm even for 4,000 square foot, like glad that we at least pursued this because any square footage is going to be helpful. So then it's like, okay, now you have this exact amount of square footage. So here are your actual options versus like, this one could be 40,000, this one can be 30,000. If we do it together, this is the office space that will be created, the shared space that could happen, and the extra for each school. There'll be a more specific details, I guess, if that's, they can kind of weigh that through better now that we know.
And you guys are meeting on the 12th.
We're going Thursday, yes,
And then
to
after that,
Santa
when
Fe.
you guys meet with the committee of going.
Then we will go through, yes, then we'll come back with our design committee. I'm sure Decker will also provide us with information in that time of like, hey, here's the next step for that. We are also currently looking at possibly getting a, what is the name of the
Construction manager.
a construction manager, so they would help us with this, take over the construction piece of it, keeping everyone on time and the everyday details, and if not, then someone here at the district would have to do that. So we are looking at how much that's gonna cost to see if that's a possibility.
So, is there anybody, so I noticed that it'll be Jeannie, Miss Christina, and yourself.
Yes.
Is there anybody from the elementary school that can?
So currently, in regards to this information, they're gonna ask us things of like, how many students are in that, each single classroom that's provided. Because we don't have an elementary school principal, that's the only reason, basically, because it's very specific for like whole building information. So I've done hopefully a really good job of keeping notes for that information, so that way when we go there, we have that information. The reason that I did ask Christina to come is they are in question about our wellness/restorative justice room. And so hopefully she'll be able to speak upon that specific piece, because I think whenever they hear from her of how we're actually using it, maybe they'll change their mind of giving us the square footage for that place, that piece of it.
Student report and teacher report.
There is none.
Board reports.
Board reports, I just would like to share that we, over the weekend, Ms. Scovia and Ms. Pierce and myself attended the 46th Annual NMSBA School of Conference presented by Cuddy and McCarthy, and that was actually very, very neat. I've now gone to 2 of these conferences, and, well, yeah, 2 of the bigger NMSBA conferences in that workshop in Artesia. But the more we get in front of these people, the more we learn, the more we're aware of certain things. So definitely very grateful we got to go, and I feel like it was pretty productive as well.
I do not.
Superintendent report.
Summer school at all 3 buildings has begun. Our elementary school summer school program is ran through the state, and it's focused on reading. We will be having STEM camp come next week. At the elementary school, currently we have 38 students currently taking calculus for summer school, not because they have to, but because they want to. And I've been over there, and they're all showing up every day, so that's impressive. We're excited about all our new hires. And then I wanted to share some of the 90-day plan information from previously, whenever I started from this position, and kind of where we have come since then. So one of my goals was uniform onboarding and termination district-wide. So we currently have met with Megan Munoz. She works with Tony's office, and she has provided us great examples of what our all our onboarding as well as termination paper should look like. So we've kept those in a file. And then procedures based upon specific contract type. So we did also during that time sit with her and ask about those who are tenured, those who are non-tenured, as well as our administrators information. And then publish information for all supervisors and future supervisors. So as we're working towards next school year, we have not completed this, but we are working towards packets for each of our new supervisors as well as our old ones on what should the onboarding process look like? What should it look like whenever you get ready to hire? How many preferably should be on your committee in regards to what is the process once you have selected a candidate and you provide that recommendation to the superintendent. We're working on creating packets for them, so that way it streamlines the process as well, and when we do have turnover somewhere, then all of a sudden we're able to just give them a packet of like, here's our process, and so that's currently in the works as well. For enhanced communication, we hopefully have provided more communication to everyone. We have streamlined Facebook is only one Facebook page. There was talk about us getting rid of that. However, I think our community members in general really rely on that for just what's going on at the school, what's good going on, what are our kids doing. So we will continue to keep the Dexter School Facebook page where we can all submit together, all 3 schools, as well as athletics and activities, and central office as we find things that are relevant. We do have an app, and if you haven't downloaded it, that to me is a great way to keep up with our communication currently. We are going to have a big push at our open house in the fall for our parents to get on the app because whenever you have the app, it connects straight to our website, and anything that a principal or an administrator of any kind puts on there, it provides an update to you on what's going on. So at the elementary school, I always had mine on, and it would tell you, Fast Feet Friday was canceled today, or X, Y, and Z. It's a great way that sometimes you miss on Facebook what, it's 3 or 4 days before you get that information.
What's the app called?
It's the Dexter Schools app. And it has our logo, double D, and it's a great way to keep in contact. It's part of our website, so there's no extra charge, like in regards to that. And it connects well together. So now we've even streamlined the fact that when an administrator goes on and needs to post, you can post to Facebook, to the app, and to the website all in one click. So you create it in there, can click all 3, and it goes up in one. And then accountability. So I'm currently still working on board policy information. Some of it is in the readings tonight, where it's just, we just need to change names. We need to update who's in charge of that information in the board policy. We're not actually changing any of the policy in itself. It's the 2 Title IX, where are those at?
The H,
Yeah, nope, not H. H is actually something that they're recommending us do. And I'll.
Well,
I'll find them.
probably see where it says, person,
Yes,
person,
yes,
contact, C
yes.
and D.
C and D.
Yeah.
C and D are updated person of contact. So as I go through that information that we just need updated, in fact, we're talking about updating it from 3 superintendents previously. So just ensuring that the policies are up to date. And then creating district expectations for evaluations. We did complete future evaluations on the appropriate PD site. We will also use it for administrators in the future. All of that information is on there for our building principals. And then we'll build upon that information for all our other staff as well. And then safety practices. Linda, you missed our safety plans, looking over that. And so we have completed this, as well as scheduled safety training was part of our plan. And so we, in the fall, as one of the back to school, we will do active shooter training with Palms and Associates to ensure that we know exactly what to do in situations and actually practice those things. So I just, kind of an update. For the most part, I think we're doing really good in regards to what I had put out there. For the next 90 days at the next board meeting, I'd like to present from July to about December what the things we'll be working on and some things that you should be able to see from there.
Good deal.
Okay. How many, kiddos do we have in the reading program? Do we have a good?
There's, I want to say 8 instructors and 4, it's like 35 kids probably.
Cool.
It's very, I love it. I think it's great, and I think the program that they're using is fantastic. The issue, I think, comes from the part that the district had to provide the place to have it, as well as the technology for our instructors, which is great. However, all registration was done online through PED. Also, all the funding runs through PED, so we're not part of it. It's kind of just we provide the space for them. We're hosting it, which is good and bad. It takes away some work, but it also caused some like delays and things that our staff would have been able to upload some of the information faster because we already had that information. And then parents, I think, had a harder time registering because they're used to our typical summer school, call the school, they register, get on the list, and so they actually had to get on the website and do that. So we did help lots of parents through that process, but I think having that ability to do both would help in the future.
Moving forward, item 5, public forum.
Okay, item 6, business. We have business readings A through H that are first readings. And then, I approve of new teacher position high school.
Okay, so with that position, we actually absorbed the culinary position when we brought our SRO out of that position and back into the classroom position. This is previous to me stepping into this role, but I think that we do need to bring it before the board to get the approval for the other FT that we're asking for culinary specific. Remind me your question, Linda.
So I'm just a little bit confused. So he went into, or the SRO went into a teaching position.
Yes.
Is that gonna remain, and so now we need a culinary position?
Correct.
And what is the SRO, is there still an SRO position, or there's not? I guess that's where my confusion is at.
Dissolving the SRO position, as well as, so with that information, I am asking other districts how they partner with their local police, because most of them, anywhere from our size to all the smaller districts in general, partner with their local police to either get them SRO training, because not that we don't need them here full time, but it's really somebody that we don't have to have full time where we can place funding, and the state will provide training for them, and they can support both the community and us together. And I think that's a partnership that we do need to pursue. And so he will continue, our old SRO will move into a teaching position, which he already did prior to me receiving this position. And then we will add the culinary position because when I took the superintendent position, we were able to justify that FTE for him. And so we want to go ahead, we budgeted for it for next school year to have that culinary position back open as another FTE.
So, is the culinary and the other positions, the CTE courses, I mean, are they courses of interest that our students are gonna?
So when I taught culinary, we had almost 24 students per class. Do I think interest-wise is partially just because hands-on is super important to kids in the school day? I do. And so my big thing with that is, even if we just make really good home cooks, we're teaching them a life skill that they're going to use for the rest of their life. Students really enjoy that class, and so I can see where, you know, I think for this next school year, we'll have the same number of students in those classes. The class that other FTE, CTE, we had to have 2 local classes, and we voted on those last meeting, I believe. It might have been 2 meetings ago, where, well, so of the capstone class, not that you have to pass that to graduate now. The state has allowed us to use that. I think it's an important class. We may not have been utilizing it to its fullest because it should be a class where we show our culminating high school activity and we can build into that. But then we had to have a second one, and our kids are super, I don't want to say uninformed, but the more we can provide them on opportunities for career exploration, in general, that's an important piece of getting them to understand, like, there's lots of jobs out there. And so that current position he's in would be career exploration. So
What is it exactly that, is he gonna take them to like different schools or different businesses, or?
I think both of those, right? Like, in regards to providing the knowledge in the classroom, this gives us as well time to do like career assessments, like, hey, what kinds of things are you good at? What does this look like in the field? But then I think it also we start as freshmen, start looking at where, if you like this specific thing, where do you start looking at schools that offer something, and what is the cost of that, and what's the breakdown? And that then transitions all the way through to your senior year of like, hey, I still like this, and this is what I'm going towards. And then that senior year, you're able to use all of that information to make informed decisions through that class of, hey, I'm applying for scholarships based upon that information.
So, and I think that was my main thing. I feel like the culinary would get a lot of interest. I just didn't know what this other position was.
Yes.
And if it was one that was necessary. I mean, the culinary, I mean, I would even go to culinary class, right? But I kind of feel like that is important, just because even when we were in school taking like home ec and all of that, I felt like it was very important.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely would like to see that. I just didn't know what this other FTE position was, and if it was something.
So we have to have 2 local board decisions. And as we talked to other districts and as we looked at this, what 2, not positions, 2 classes do we want to offer? I think both those classes benefit all students in regards to, if you go through a really rigorous career exploration as a freshman and you've really kind of narrowed it down to, at least I like the health field. I know I want to do something in that regard. And not to say that you won't change, but my hope would be that through that class that you've done a ton of research to understand, like, there's not just nurses. You can become, you know, have an LPN, an RN, all the way up to a nurse esthetician, or yeah. And so what does that look like in general, and how do we ensure that they know all of their options? And I think sometimes even students they only know what they see, and so how can we get them out there and really see that information too? So that's my hope, is that we would bring people in, we would go see things, as well as just kind of broaden horizons on what is out there.
Does that, where we're gonna pay this, 2 positions or 2 classes, the teacher is?
So currently, the FTE that it moved, the SRO out of was operational, and then this one would also be paid from operational.
So are we gonna, is it gonna be kind of like one semester is career exploration and second semester is like capstone, or how?
It'll
how
still
is
be
that?
full year classes, so we are currently going to a 7-period school day, versus the block schedule. And so they'll have to take it for an entire, freshman will take the career explorations, and then we'll still have seniors who take the capstone class. And I hope, as we watched the other day, there was a capstone project that was presented at NMSBA. We broadened our horizons from presenting just in the classroom to a PowerPoint. Like, it's more about finding interest and getting out there in your community, giving back in some way, getting a job, and then presenting what you actually did. And it needs to not, I guess, be very, it needs to be more fluid in what it should be very individualized on what each student chooses to have that on.
Yes, and I think even like having partnerships for the career exploration, because you can say you want to be a dentist, and then once you go and job shadow, you may not want to be a dentist anymore.
Yeah.
So but thank you for that explanation. I was just a little bit like, I couldn't really understand, and I just wanted to make sure that the options that we, were going to decide on were going to be options that the students were going to be interested in, because there's no point in having, right, like.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to approve the, new teacher position in high school?
Just one more question, sorry, before we do that. So, we're not doing anything with the Medicaid fund? No,
Neither
anymore, right?
position will be paid through there.
Separation.
Yeah.
Okay, I moved to open the culinary position again to keep the current position that was created with the FTE.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. J, approval of the IDEA-B application.
So IDEA B, this is our federal funding that we receive for our special education services. This pays for some salaries. Our special ed director, not counselor at the elementary school, social worker at the elementary school. Some EAs are paid through this position. This funding in regards to once something leaves here, you can't supplant, like we can't move it back to this funding. So we always try to use this funding first for these positions, and then if we have to supplement from somewhere else. But currently, we are looking like we will be able to provide that. And so that's really got kind of very confusing staff, sorry.
So basically, this is an application that has to be renewed every year?
Correct, yes. And this is our special, IDEA B is our special education funding.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the application for the IDEA-B.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Black? Motion passes. K, approval of application submission for middle school wellness room funding.
Okay, so Ms. Ferguson, in your packet you received, looks like that in a little slip. Ms. Ferguson filled out a application for this wellness room grant. Learned that before grant applications per board policy, we need approval before we submit it. She submit this, I am asking for approval after the fact, on this grant in general, and then for us to understand that, the policy does say that superintendent, if the deadline is coming, can make that decision, but in all, transparency, we would like to do this beforehand from now on for you guys.
So can you, I didn't have time to go through all of it, can you just give me a quick, what exactly is the wellness room? Like what?
Okay.
What happens in the wellness room?
This person, tell you, you would have to ask her to stop talking, because she would have so much more to tell. So, middle school calls it restorative justice, room, and with that, it's an alternative placement for ISF. So versus waiting until students have crossed over that edge behaviorally, it's used more as a to and from place, for students who are on the edge of behavior. In regards to behavior in general, our students who are absent, this wellness room or restorative justice room has really targeted those students and is bringing them in. Most of the time it's small group, one-on-one, up to 7 or 8 kids if they need to, and providing extra like tutoring services as well whenever they're not in a core class. If they're in a core class, however, some of our kids who focus, they're moving in and out. I've seen it takes a lot of communication for this room to work. They're using their radios constantly. So-and-so is going to the restorative room, and then they say, okay, and back and forth, they're bringing work constantly. I thought you were. It's a preventative measure for behavior. So whenever we need that student to step out for a few minutes, cool down, or they need an extra place to work, this gives them that option. That's kind of very limited.
It's just one staff member?
It is just one staff member. And currently, middle school is utilizing theirs, I would say, really well in regards to 10, 15 students are utilizing it every single day. Elementary school does have one. It is used more like as a pull-out service place for them to provide some of that calming service. They don't have the staff member, and that was prior to me, so I'm not sure exactly how all of that. But Ms. Ferguson found this grant and felt